Hey beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about 5 habits that changed my dancing. Now I wanted to talk a bit about this on my channel because a lot of the time as dancers we really prioritize our time in the studio, but what we sometimes forget, and what I definitely used to neglect when I was a younger dancer, is the habits outside of the studio that are going to help enhance your performance. So today we're going to talk about my own experience with some of those. And just a disclaimer to start the video, these are habits that have worked for myself. A lot of them are research backed, but as always, please find what works for you and your own body. Okay, tip number 1 is getting enough sleep. Now, throughout my teenage years, I used to roll my eyes at this tip because I was one of those people who thought that I could do it all on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night. I would go to school all day, I would train all evening until like 9, sometimes 10 p.m. and then I'd get home, and by the time I had like done my ab workout at home after class and my stretch and mobility and edited my YouTube videos, it was literally like midnight, and then I would wake up at 5 a.m. and do it all again every single day without any rest. So getting enough quality sleep, I started to implement this around like the last year of high school and throughout my full time. But it is a habit that I am still working on today. Whenever I do get enough quality sleep, it makes such a difference to my energy levels, how like sharp and clear my mind is. I feel like when I get enough sleep, I'm having more positive thoughts about my dancing. I am way more able to focus and a lot more able to retain information and choreography in the class. And my performance is significantly better because my body is energized and fueled and recovered in the way that it needs to be. So for me, as a very active person, getting enough sleep looks like 9 to 10 hours. And that might be different for you. The recommended guidelines are different for men and women. Men and women do need a different amount of sleep. Women's endocrine system is working overtime to produce a lot more hormones, and our hormone cycles are different than men. So women do need a lot more sleep, and then people who are active need a lot more sleep because we are working our bodies really hard and we need time during sleep for our body to help our muscles recover from all the micro tears we created during our sessions. And that applies to dancing as well. When we're working hard in our dance class, we're creating small little micro tears in our muscles, which during our sleep is going to be repaired so that next time we come back, we're stronger and more flexible. But if we don't get enough sleep and that repair isn't able to happen in our body, then we run into problems later on down the track and we're more prone to injury and illness, and our immune system can shut down and things like that. So getting enough quality sleep is one of the things that has skyrocketed my dance ability. When I was functioning on 5 hours of sleep and doing like 22 hours, I believe it was, of dancing on top of high school, all the way back then, it was extremely unproductive and I was just overworking my body. I got injured. I injured my back, I injured my toe, which is like so niche and specific, but I'll talk about that story one day. I actually have arthritis in my big toe, and it's very severe arthritis, and it does significantly impact my dancing and my way of life in terms of like pain levels. But because I wasn't sleeping and recovering enough, my body wasn't getting stronger. In fact, it was having the opposite effect and I was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. I was having terrible negative thoughts about my body and my dance ability while in class. And on top of that, I was just constantly fatigued and I couldn't retain choreography as effectively, and I felt like I was just like burning out 24/7. However, when I flipped the switch and really prioritized my recovery and my sleep, which is something that I was able to do at the start of full time because your dance training is in the day during full-time dance, which is different than if you are a dancer in high school or in your teenage years. It's a lot more difficult to get in your sleep, I know, because the classes are in the evening. But when I started prioritizing my sleep in full time, my dance ability just skyrocketed, and I felt like I was getting stronger and faster and more agile because my body was able to recover faster. So even if you are someone who has to take all their dance classes in the evening, see if you can sleep in a little bit more and adapt your schedule to meet your sleep needs, because it's really going to help you in the long run. Habit number 2 is strength training. Now, I have been training in the gym since I was 16, and before that I would do bodyweight workouts at home. But what a lot of people don't realize is that strength training isn't just lifting weights. Strength training actually is a different rep range, so how many of each exercise you do, and a different rest period as well as a different load, so how much you're lifting. A lot of people don't realize this, and they go into the gym doing lighter weights and doing like 12 reps of an exercise and thinking that they're strength training, when actually it is muscular endurance, so slightly different. So for a long time, I used to train a lot of HIIT. So I was really working my anaerobic energy system and doing a lot of like cardiovascular work. However, if I had a strength day, it was normally Pilates based. This is talking like 4 to 5 years ago. It was normally Pilates based. Oh my God, 5 years ago. Guys, the pandemic was 5 years ago. Oh my God. So 5 years ago, we're talking, I was doing HIIT workouts, and if I had a strength day, it was calisthenic based, high rep ranges, and we were training muscular endurance, and a lot of the exercises were calisthenic, so bodyweight, and Pilates based. Now, I do believe Pilates has a place, and I believe its place is in recovery and rehabilitation, and also stability work. However, if as a dancer, you are wanting to build more power, you're wanting to become sharper and stronger and able to get up off the floor faster, strength training is going to help all of that. So over the past year, I have really got into strength training. So doing a rep range of like 1 to 5 reps with 2 to 3 minutes rest and high load. So we're really working on strengthening our muscles under load. That has genuinely made me a stronger and better dancer because my body finds movements much more easy now. I feel like now that I'm prioritizing my strength, I find it so much easier to hit things sharper. I'm a lot more of a stronger dancer, and I'm able to control my body a lot more in different positions because I have been training strength in different ranges of motion. If you're a dancer who is new to the gym, I highly suggest that you work with a personal trainer for at least like the first 8 weeks of your gym journey, and someone who is highly qualified. Not someone who's worked with athletes before would be great for this, but just so you can get the building blocks in place and know how to do the right form and what you need to do in the gym. If you're someone who's been in the gym for a while, I highly suggest strength training. It has really helped out my dancing personally and has made me a lot stronger and a more explosive dancer as well. Okay, tip number 3. This is fueling my body regularly. Now, as a dancer, I personally, when my training load was really high and I was dancing 6-hour days, we would have like a morning tea break and a lunch break, and then I'd have like breakfast and dinner. But in between classes, I was also fueling my body. So having like some dried fruit for a quick hit of sugar, sometimes a protein bar, sometimes a piece of fruit, just something that is going to keep my energy sustained for longer. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm not going to give you advice on what you should eat, but for me personally, fueling my body consistently throughout my dancing day kept my energy levels high and prevented me from having like a giant crash during class. And fueling my body for me is in terms of food, so having regular meals throughout the day, making sure they're nourishing with all of my macros and micronutrients in it, and also hydration. So something I've implemented recently into my routine is having electrolytes. Electrolytes are great if you are doing a lot of endurance work and you're someone who is training for long periods of time, because our body is going to be depleting those electrolytes, excreting them through sweat. It's great to keep hydrated with those. If you're someone who just lives a relatively sedentary life, or you're someone who mostly strength trains, electrolytes may not be as necessary. But for dancers, life-changing. And one of the ways I used to do this was by drinking coconut water. I haven't been doing it recently just because I needed a break from coconut water, but drinking coconut water kept my sugar levels up and kept my electrolyte levels up and kept me energized throughout my long evenings or days of dance training. Since including this habit, I feel like my progress in dance has improved so much because I'm not undernourishing myself, and I have a lot more energy, and my body is a lot stronger because of it. So my dancing looks better, I'm looking less fatigued, I'm looking more strong, I'm looking more fit, not in terms of necessarily my physique, yes, that happens as well, but also in terms of the way I'm dancing. Like, I'm looking more athletic because my body is fueled with the right nutrients that it needs. I know that in the dance world, we sometimes struggle to fuel our bodies correctly, but please guys, just remember that food is fuel, okay? Please don't be scared of it. It is a tool that we can utilize to improve our athletic performance as dancers, and it is not something to be scared of. Tip number 4 is journaling. So there are a few ways that I use journaling in my dance life. One of the ways I've already talked about on this channel a few times, but that is bringing a journal or a notebook into class to write down my corrections. Now, I found when I was in full-time dance that I was constantly being given so many corrections throughout the day, and then I'd get to the end of the day and I could remember like 3. And I wanted to utilize the most out of every class that I had. And so one of the things I did was take a journal into class and a pen, and whenever we got given a water break or I was standing on the side, I would be noting them down. Or sometimes instead, if I didn't want to be like taking away from the class by like writing it down on the side, I would then after class get my phone out, go on my notes app, and then write down everything that I got corrected on for that class. Then at the end of the week, I would come back and circle back and create some goals based off of those corrections. And I just found that this was a great way to keep track of my progress and also know where I needed to go in my training next and what I needed to focus on. Now, another way that I utilize journaling is for my mental health. And this is because I get really stressed really easily. I'm very stress prone, if you will. And I find that when I do start to fatigue, one of the first things for me that goes in my dancing is my mind. I will like check out, I'll start comparing myself to other people, I'll start speaking negatively to myself, and it happens generally when I get fatigued in my training. But one of the ways that I found to combat this is journaling. And it has really helped me, either doing like a brain dump and just like writing all of my thoughts down in my journal, or taking one of those negative limiting beliefs out from my brain and just kind of unpacking it and replacing it with a new positive belief has also really helped me as well. Like, there's so many different ways to utilize journaling, and it's important to find the one that works for you. And over the years, my journaling has chopped and changed, but the habit has remained consistent, and it has improved my mental health and my mental performance so incredibly much, as well as my overall dancing, because I'm able to track my progress. Now, I want to share with you, this is the journal that I'm currently using, and it is actually from Kmart. For the past like 5 years, I've just been using like empty journals. I've never really used a guided journal, but recently I have been using this guided journal here to check in with myself every single evening as part of my nighttime routine. I just find it such a good way for me to track my habits, see where I'm at with my dancing and my training, and set intentions for the next day. So I love it because I can track things like mindfulness observations. So like moments throughout the day that I felt like really present and connected to my body. Feelings, like how did I do today? There's a little water, food, exercise, stretching, and meditation tracker. You can like scale yourself from 1 to 5 on how like good you did in that area. There's a page, a little section for gratitude, which I love. A physical highlight, that's generally where I like have a highlight for my training. And then on the other page, it's talking about feelings. So if I have any thoughts in my head that are like really counterproductive and not helping me, I'll put them in there and kind of unpack them a little bit. And then talking about things like your morning routine and like setting intentions. Did you work towards your big goal? How's your social media use? I just find it such a good way for me to track how I'm doing throughout the year. And then on the page after that, there's a little overflow section, so I can just do a little bit of a brain dump. And in the page after that, there is an intention for tomorrow, which I just utilize to write down a little intention for the next day so that I have like a positive mindset going into class. For example, my intention yesterday is to be healthy. And I wrote down healthy mind, healthy body, healthy soul, and then just a little few things there that I'm not going to unpack with you, but it's a really good way for me to just like set an intention for the day so I have some clarity on where I'm going, and it has really helped me and my mental performance for my dancing as well. So Kmart has heaps of these. I know Typo have stuff like this, but then also feel free to grab a blank journal as well, because sometimes that's fun. Just do what works for you, but this has really helped me recently. Habit number 5 is yoga every morning. And this is a habit that I did consistently throughout my full-time diploma and throughout like my last few years of high school. As part of my morning routine, I would do yoga every morning, generally between like 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how I was feeling. But this made significant changes in my mobility, in my mental health and my mental performance, and in my stress levels. Now, yoga for me wasn't just about like my physical performance. I initially started doing yoga to improve my mobility because I'd been stretching for so long and nothing was working, and I genuinely found like yoga was the one thing that started to progress my mobility. And I do think that's down to like the breathing that's involved, the cueing, and then like the way that mobility work is integrated alongside with holding like static stretching. But the other thing I really love about yoga is the fact that it's such a like spiritual experience, and it's really, for me, it's like me time. It's time for me to center myself in my body, feel grounded for the day, take some nice deep breaths, wake up the body, like stretch out after being lying in bed for so long. And in terms of my dancing, I found doing like a 10 to 20 minute yoga session in the morning so helpful. When you're in full-time dance and you're dancing full-time hours, your body is so sore all of the time. Like the pain doesn't stop. Your body is consistently always sore. So waking up and doing some yoga just kind of helped to get some of that lactic acid moving a little bit. And it also meant that I would go into ballet in the morning, because that was our first class in the morning. It meant that I would go to ballet in the morning already stretched and warm, so that I was like less prone to injuries as well. But in terms of how else it's improved my dancing, yoga has improved my mobility. It's made me a lot calmer and more grounded. I feel like since doing yoga, I'm also able to find a lot more connection to the floor in my dancing. And yoga has also taught me how to utilize my breath work in my dancing as well. So finding breath in the movement and really just like staying present in my body. So that's a little bit of like a spiritual and physical practice that has helped my performance mentally and physically. But it is one of my favorite habits to include in my morning routine. All right, guys, that is all of the habits that we have today. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video.